So the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, I have actually not played for nearly 3 years now, which is quite a long time. I used to perform it a lot, like all the time. One moment the concerto comes down to, oh, it's got to be the second movement, I think. I mean, it's a hugely famous movement, and as with some other violin concertos, it's the second movement that really sort of is, I guess, the heart of it. And I think there's just a sort of flowing simplicity with this movement that's also just very sweet and not too much drama, really, and that's quite unusual with the violin. So this violin is a Stradivarius. It's called the Earl Spencer Strad, and I've been playing it now for over 3 years, and it's on loan to me by a man called Jonathan Moles, who's president of Bank of America for Europe and Asia and owns a few instruments, and I'm hugely lucky and very grateful to have the opportunity to be playing this one. As I said, I've been playing it about 3 years, and it's an incredible instrument with never-ending capacity for sound and colours, and really developing yourself through the instrument. But it can be a pain sometimes because it changes a lot with different temperatures and different humidity, and it's a very sort of temperamental instrument. It also reacts very strongly to bow and hair, different kinds of hair. So it's a very sort of sensitive instrument, but you can't really get such beauty without the sensitivity. So it kind of goes hand in hand. I think most people that play a Strad say similar things. I think they do anyway. During the rehearsal today, obviously you're focusing a lot on the orchestra and on everything that's going on stage, but you generally get a pretty good feel for how your sound is carrying, and the whole has a beautiful acoustic as far as I can tell so far. I just arrived last night. Well, this is the first time I've been lucky enough to play with Jaap van Zweden, and we just did the rehearsal today, and it's really quite incredible, the sort of attention to detail and how much he listens. And I always find it a little unnerving having someone there that plays the violin incredibly well, but on the other hand, there is a certain amount of understanding of what you're doing that the conductor inevitably has if they know your instrument. So I guess I try not to think about that, but in terms of his sensitivity towards what I'm doing, it probably is a plus point. But my experience so far was just wonderful. The latest CD of mine to be released in the States is called Fantasy, and it's a disc of two very different types of music. One sort of mostly gypsy influenced sort of virtuosic pieces, French, Spanish, that's about it, I think. And the rest are very sort of melancholic and very intimate sort of songs, which it gives a great sort of contrast in the disc. But generally it's sort of shorter pieces. So. Okay. It greatly depends on how you're feeling at that moment, the whole experience of signing CDs after concerts, but always is one of the only chances you get, really, to speak to your audience and to really feel and understand and hear what they felt about what you've just done. And quite often it's so enormously different to what you yourself felt. And quite often if you felt slightly uncomfortable, or you have some insecurities, or there's anything that you don't feel really great about, actually speaking to people and hearing how much they feel the music, how much they focus on the sort of general impression of the concert, and how much they feel the piece of music as opposed to necessarily how you've interpreted the piece of music, and that's what really carries. And I think it's always a very sort of comforting and very very important is, I mean, that's a separate issue, but it's a very important thing to do, I think, for them as well. Just, it's quite a large distance between here and there, and it's not necessarily the most intimate sort of relationship between the soloist on the stage and the orchestra and the audience in the hall. So it gives you a chance to be much closer to them.